Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Hacks and Hunt. Today's video, we are going to go over how to pick the right sight for your hunting bow setup. I did the dirty work for you because buying sights is super expensive and it sucks. And we all dread it because it's like, okay, you spend $1,500 on a bow, then you spend $300 on a rest, then you spend $200 on some stabilizers and $200 on a dozen arrows, and now you have to figure out how to spend $500 to $600. I mean, you can get away with $100, $200 for a sight, but that again is like, there's so many options. What should you go for? So really quick, we're just gonna dive into seeing them on the shelf, thinking about the situations you're gonna be in during your hunting season, or what kind of bow setup that you're gonna go for, and which ones you should probably take a look at. So that being said, guys, we are gonna dive into these 15 sights that I spent $4,000 on and show you. That way you don't have to spend all of the money and you can only buy one. You only need to buy one rather than them all and try to figure out which one you like the most. But that being said, since I did spend $4,000 literally for you, do me a favor, go to hacksandhunt.com, buy some merch, help support the channel. This is my full-time gig now, so really appreciate all the support that I do get on my channel. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If you like the video that you see today, hit the like button and comment down below what sight you see here. What sight do you want me to dive into? What questions you have about your sights? And any questions regarding sights. I'm gonna do a full video series of archery bow sights for bow hunting. So that being said, guys, we are going to dive deep into discussion really quick on seeing these on the shelf and which one you should pick. All right, guys, I just wanna let you know I'm giving you two bows of your choice, any bow that you want. There are only 25 entries left. All you gotta do is go to hacksandhunt.com, purchase a flag, and that will get you automatically entered. There are only 300 entries. So go to hacksandhunt.com, buy a flag. You're gonna win two bows of your choice, and you're gonna help me donate. I'm gonna pay for it. You're just gonna be a part of it. Donate $5,000 to Wishes for Warriors to help our veterans get the opportunity to get outside in the outdoors, do some hunting and adventures like we all enjoy. So thank you so much, guys, for all of the support. We only have 25 entries left in that giveaway, so I'm super pumped to be able to donate that money and give somebody two bows of your choice. So go to hacksandhunt.com, buy a flag. If they're in stock, it means it's still going. If they're out of stock, it means it is over. So again, jump on in really quick, hacksandhunt.com, and let's get back to the video. All right, first things first, what situations are you gonna be hunting? Are you doing back west, backcountry, crazy hunts, out hiking in 500 miles, shooting big elk, you're ranging out 70, 80 yards? Or are you gonna be sitting in a tree stand in Iowa, shooting a giant Iowa whitetail buck? So there are different hunts. Are you gonna be shooting, turkeys, antelope, stuff in the prairie? Like, what type of hunt are you gonna be doing? Are you wanting to stretch out far distances to shoot at Total Archery Challenge, at different 3D events? Are you wanting to just practice at far distances, just, shoot 150 yards? That way, when you come to shoot a 60-yard shot, it's easy. So these are questions that you need to ask yourself. Obviously, you don't have to answer them all. You don't have to have all the answers right off the bat, but it is just kind of gonna give you a good idea on where to start. The few options that you have, the biggest things that you're gonna run into are if it is a dial down sight, that you have a sight tape that will make one of your pins a floater pin. That way you can go from 60 yards down to 130 yards, depending on how much clearance you have with your bow setup. Or if you're just wanting a fixed pin sight, you're confident you're not gonna shoot past 60 yards, stuff like that. As well as kind of the lightweight series. If you're okay to have a little bit more of a bulky, heavier setup, or if you need something a little bit lighter for those, save some ounces in the backcountry, but also give you the ability to scroll down and have those longer shots. So out here in the West, hunting mule deer, out in high country, very rarely do you get a close encounter opportunity. Close encounter meaning 20, 30, 40, 50 yards. It's usually that 60 to 80 yard range that we get out here in the West. I know a lot of it's crazy to whitetail hunters to understand. that guys are taking 80-yard shots, because on a whitetail, you get the opportunity in a lot closer range as far as sitting in a tree stand and having those deer dialed in. So the things that I personally look for are if I'm gonna go with a horizontal pin sight or a vertical pin sight. So right here is an example. Here is the Tetra Rise. Right here we have a vertical pin. You see those pins stacked up vertically. And then here is a horizontal pin example of the Black Gold Mountain Ascent Light. That vertical pin is really nice when you're at full draw on an animal and you have a very clean, clear picture. We'll just show you on this one right here, this Ultra View sight. That whole sight picture is pretty open, and that little vertical post is going, you know, say you're just hugging right there behind that shoulder, that stack is going right up his leg, tucked in the armpit at full draw, boom, shot. Nothing is covered. Horizontal pins, they can be nice in some situations. I've ran a 5-pin horizontal sight for most of my life, so I got really used to it. It was really hard to switch to a vertical pin, single pin, double pin, triple pin, whatever it might be. But I've found now that I've used both more, that horizontal pin, especially a 5-pin, blocks a lot of that animal. If you're at full draw and the sight, you know, the pins go from the butt of the deer to the shoulder, it just kind of blocks that whole body, or vice versa if it goes from the head to the shoulder. Like, it just covers up a little bit more. And so those guys that have some eye stigmatisms and stuff, it makes it a little bit more difficult if the sight housing is more crowded with more pins. So that brings me to the other question is, do you go with a 1-pin? Do you go with 5-pin? Do you go with 4-pin, a 3-pin, a 2-pin, a 1-pin? Like, what, how many pins should you get, and why should you look at different amounts of pins? So personally, I used to run, like I said, a 5-pin sight. Really enjoyed it. It took away the stress and anxiety of having to dial my sight down to certain distances. So with the single pin, you have to dial that down in, you know, say you range, boom, 47 yards, dial that sight, 47 yards, now you can draw back and shoot. With a 5-pin sight, okay, 47 yards, draw back, pin gap, you're 40 and 50 yard, boom, shoot, you're good. So it's a little bit quicker as far as that goes, especially for some Western hunting. But that being said, I have found myself in situations where a single pin makes the situation have to slow down. So I have missed opportunities with the single pin sight, with a double pin sight, because I have to range, okay, I got to dial, and that deer has now moved, or that elk has now moved. And so it has its pros and cons. So I try to get myself in hunting situations where the animal is very chill. It is, you know, stable at where it is. I take a lot more time, persistence, and patience on my stalks. So that way I can really take my time on the shot. So that's kind of the biggest thing I would say with single pin versus a 5-pin sight. Just a single pin is a lot more clear housing, but you have to take your time to personally dial down to those sights. All right, another thing to consider with sights are some of them are digital. Some of them have digital parts of them. One being an example of Garmin Zero sight. This sight is absolutely super epic. It is a range finding sight. So this cord is mounted down here on the handle of your bow. You click it and it's gonna range 47 yards, pop up with your 47-yard pin, and you can shoot. So that is super nice, very convenient, does have a higher price range, and is illegal in some states. So make sure you look at the statutes of each state you're hunting in. You know, like I live in Utah, it's changed. We used to be able to use this sight, or you can't shoot that sight anymore. Same here with the Trophy Ridge Digital React. This is a sight that you are able to scroll down yardages, but instead of having a physical sight tape, it is a digital tape. So as you scroll, it'll show digital numbers, okay, 42, 43, 44 yards, whatever it might be. And that in some states is illegal. So make sure you check the statutes. I can't go over it enough. It changes every year, every state, whatever it might be. So just make sure you are up to date on the legality of bow sights in your equipment. Some sights are, I'll show you here on this dialed Arxo sight. Some sights are specific to a couple bows. So this one is specific to bows that have a Picatinny rail mount. So you can't just mount this one on any bow. So this one's not gonna mount here on the Matthews because there is no pick rail mount on the Matthews. Dialed makes the the dovetail one that is for Matthews and every other bow. The Picatinny rail you can use on Hoyt and PSE, I believe, are the only two right now. But it just kind of makes it a little bit more inline. So don't go to the store if you have Matthews and buy a Picatinny rail sight and come home, try to put it on, and it doesn't work. So be mindful of that in case somebody at your shop does not help you, or if you're buying it online. Other things to kind of consider are the weight. So the Fast Eddie by Spot Hogg, Fast Eddie XL, killer sight, great sight. It is a block of steel. Like, this thing is solid. It's a tank. It's not gonna break. You're not gonna have any issues with it. Basically guaranteed because of how tough that is. I mean, that thing is one of the most robust sights I think I've ever messed with. But you pay for it in ounces. It is quite a bit heavier than most sights. And then, like, your dialed sight's gonna be quite a bit lighter. Your black gold's quite a bit lighter, depending on which one you're gonna go with. Like, the dual track's a little bit heavier than your mountain light here. That mountain light one is incredibly light, actually. Your XL landslide, quite a bit lighter. The other thing is, so you have the scrolling sights. So you have your floater pin, like I was explaining earlier. And then you have your fixed pin sights. Fixed pin sights, right here I have a Redline RL3, and this is a 5-pin fixed pin sight. So you're not gonna be able to scroll that. You have, basically it's fixed at 5 pins. So 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, if that's what you decide to set it up on, and you can't dial that down. And dialing that down, I'll show you here on the dialed sight. So right here, I would sight in my 20, 30, 40, or not 20, 30, 40. This dialed is 20, and then these end up landing on a random. So on my setup, it's actually 20, 35, 53. And I just remember that, but there are pins here that show on the indicator on your sight tape. So dialing down means you are going to actually, I gotta hold it so you can see, you're gonna be able to scroll that sight housing down. You see how that's coming down? And so that's lowering that pin to be able to shoot now at 80 yards. Going over the Arxos, this angle here on where it is scrolling up and down. So the further you go down, the closer it is to your riser. The further you go up, the further away it is from your riser. And the reason for that is they are creating, however it works, it is making it so you can get a little bit further distance out of your sight. So with my dialed sight, I get about 145 yards. And then with a black gold sight, for an example, I get about 115 yards. So I literally gained 30 or so yards out of my dialed Arxo sight. And some sights have a smaller housing, like the Landslide, the Tetra by HHA, versus like your Spot Hogg with that massive ring on it. It's a little bit bigger. You can change that out for the smaller one. But the sight housing does make quite a big difference. So just pay attention to that. Am I gonna be sitting in a tree stand, short distance, long distance, tack? Am I doing, you know, mule deer hunting out west with elk, having those long distances, single pin or multiple pins? So I kind of went best of both worlds. I like the vertical pin. And so right now on my hunting setup, I am shooting that dialed Arxos with that vertical pin with 3 pins. But you kind of get the benefits of having a single pin type of sight with that. And there are other mags that you can get on some sites. So dialed offers different mags, which is really nice. So you can do a single pin, double pin, triple pin. And I think there are a few other companies that have the option to change those out. Or there are third parties like UltraView. UltraView comes with this This is the Ultra View UV XL. Super killer scope. This can mount onto the dial, the Tetra, the Spot Hog, the Landslide, possibly the CBE. You have to get some different mounting brackets per sight, but that kind of gives you the ability to kind of customize what type of scope housing that you're gonna do. Another thing to kind of look for is, are you hunting low light situations, early mornings, late nights, right there, you know, right at sunrise, right at sunset. There are sites that have lights built in. So right here on the Ultra View, so you see that pin completely light up when I turn that on, and then when I shut that off, you can't even see the pin. So that is going to make, and it lights up your bubble too. So see, you can't even see the bubble, boom. That is going to make a massive difference in those low light situations. There's been times sitting in a tree stand, first thing in the morning, say sunrise is at 6 o'clock, means legal shooting light is at 5:30. I have a deer walk by coming in at 5:20, 5:25, 5:30, walks in right at first light. There is enough light to light it up, but sometimes not enough, especially if it's like 50, 60 yards. I want a very good bright pin. So I'll turn on a light. Not every site comes with them. You have to kind of see what sites. I know most companies have them and the ability to add them. Spot Hog, you can add them. This red line actually comes with one that you can add in. I'm sure HHA has one. Dialed comes with one that you can add on, and things like that. So those are things to kind of pay attention to, putting yourself in what situation this hunting season. So that is gonna kind of start the bow sight review blowout, helping you guys get the opportunity to basically see most of these or see all of these in action. I'm gonna do single videos per site, kind of showing you the sight in process, how easy it is. I recently uploaded the Dialed Arxos sight, so you can see that. I'm gonna do one of those with each of these, and then I'm gonna put them all together and kind of go over pros and cons that I find in each one, and just kind of figure out what sight I like best. So that being said, keep an eye out on that. And that's gonna conclude this video, guys. Just kind of going over the store purchasing process, which ones you're gonna be looking at and what ones to kind of consider depending on the situations you're gonna be in this hunting season. So that being said, guys, really appreciate your guys' support. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Here's a couple other videos for you, and we will catch you guys next time.